Good evening, Sunset Streamer here. Pleasure to have you on the channel. Thanks for tuning in, wherever you may be in the world. And without further ado, let's get straight into this live stream topic: how travel will change your perspective if you let it. Now, if you've been so privileged to get the opportunity to travel, it is something amazing if you let it. If you let what the world is trying to show you, and if you allow yourself to embrace an experience, then travel may change your particular perspective. If you've been privileged enough to be able to live somewhere long term, overseas, live and earn, it can be an incredible experience, but don't fret if you can't. If you have privileged enough to have access to the internet and you can live, as I like to call, an online life, you can get something similar to the experience of travel, but immersion is like the deep end. Then there's the shallower end. But both of them are extremely beneficial. And I'll start with living and working overseas. I would say the further the better, but sometimes it doesn't even have to be that far away. Just moving to a new town, moving to a new suburb, just being around different energy and different perspectives can really show you how amazing what you already have is, and how amazing something else can also be. And how the biggest thing I can say is flipping your perspective, because having been in Asia, when I came back to home, Africa, South Africa, you come back with a hungry set of eyes. You see things that were done elsewhere that you can almost imagine being done back home. You're like, wait a minute, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this way? And things that have been fixed overseas, you understand how to fix things back home. One thing I noticed in Asia was education. Education being a cornerstone to accomplishing many things, and just keeping people united and keeping very vital information within public knowledge, and just how people could be taught to get along better and not always be at each other's throats, and how I had wanted and wished for something like that to be back home, and how making better education was something I really wanted to bring back. And it was like it completely changed my perspective. Before, I used to think the more money, the better. I used to think just throw money at any problem and money can fix it. And then when I was staying in Asia, and the concept of ikigai and fulfillment, and you manifesting your own talents in the best way possible to benefit society, actually meant more than just try to get as much money as possible. And how, if everyone has that mentality of just trying to get much money as possible, the world suffers, industries suffer. People now don't do the best job anymore. You get a lot of very, capable people all being concentrated towards one industry, and then that industry becomes just overloaded, and all the resources and money gets squeezed out of it, and then it creates a deficit in everything else, and that's not even good for the world. If you can travel, just embracing certain documentaries, joining certain forums, and now this thing of online life, consuming so much foreign media that it almost feels like you're there, can also be a pretty amazing experience. I had a friend who used to play a game called Jet Set Radio, and it was the landscape of Tokyo. So he knew Tokyo before he even went to Tokyo, and it was like that online life is something incredible. And how I feel my Japanese ability got so much better when I came back home. because now I wasn't as overwhelmed and I could consume bits and pieces that I could understand. And I'd hang around friends who here in South Africa who we mostly just talk about Japan. This is the Japanese way to do things. This is that. And it was comprehensible knowledge that I could stack and stack and stack and stack. So you can call it the plain list traveling, the stay at home traveling, if we may say that. But it really flips my perspective a lot. And I would almost want to share that experience with so many people that wherever you may be in life, you may be in a rut, you may be on a high, whatever it may be, traveling can help you just flip that. And you having to make yourself flexible and adapt to a new culture and get through a culture shock forces you to learn certain skills and put aside certain other things. And you exchange one set of problems for another, you exchange one set of benefits for another. And you really analyze the human experience in an incredible way. Certain beliefs you may have had get flipped on their heads, and your perspective changes because those certain beliefs fueled certain perspectives. But then you start to see just the human experience. One thing I keep saying is how Japanese people seem so similar to South Africans the more I interact and look for certain things. And it may sound like ludicrous, but it's only the environments that really differed, but the humanity in us is very, very similar. And I find that's why so many South African people, especially that I've seen in the anime community, can relate so deeply to, the characters in anime and manga. And it'd be like, I thought these were, Japanese archetypes, but still so deeply. The humor connects, the situations connects, the villains, you can see the villainy in them, and the protagonists, you can see the struggle in them, how they're just so human, and how there's a little bit of, a Nihonjin, a Japanese person in all of us, and a little bit of a foreigner in every Japanese person. So I love how it's something that brings us together. And at the end of the day, what are we but humans? And it's a topic I can speak on for quite a bit, and I didn't even get into dating yet, but I think I'll leave it just here for tonight, and I will be seeing you tomorrow. Ben Streaming Low Key. Please follow me on IG. Not in real life, that would be kind of creepy, but looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Nighty night.